All right, let's talk about building AI for the real world, the enterprise world. Today, we're going to break down Milvus, the open source vector database that giants like NVIDIA and Walmart trust for their absolutely massive scale AI. So let's get right into it. So let me just start with a quick question for you. Imagine your AI application is a runaway success. Data is just pouring in. Are you really ready to handle this kind of scale? Yeah, you're seeing that right. We're talking about a billion with a B vectors. And look, this isn't some crazy made-up number. For big companies with huge product catalogs or millions and millions of users, this is just Tuesday. And to manage that, you can't just use any old tool. You need something built for the job. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to really dig into what makes that billion vector problem so tough. Then, we'll introduce Milvus as the answer and take a peek under the hood at how it works. After that, we'll see who's actually using it, help you figure out if it's the right move for you, and then wrap it all up with the one big thing you need to remember. Okay, first up, let's actually define the problem here. Because, building a little something for a personal project, that's one thing. But building for a massive enterprise, well, that is a whole different ballgame. See, at the enterprise level, there are some things that are just non-negotiable. We're talking about uptime guarantees, super strict data rules, and maybe needing to deploy everything on your own servers, not just some random cloud. Plus, you need actual support contracts, The simple vector databases, they just weren't built for this kind of environment. And that right there brings us to the solution. When the demands get this serious, you need a tool that was literally born to handle them. So what is Milvus really? It's an open-source vector database built from the ground up for enterprise scale. And the key words you gotta hear are high availability, flexible deployment, and mission critical. This isn't for messing around. This is for production systems that absolutely positively cannot fail. To make this super clear, let's use an analogy. Think about a simple vector database like Chroma. It's kind of like your computer's local hard drive. It's perfect for your personal projects, it's easy, and it's right there when you need it. Simple. Okay, now let's step it up a bit to something like Pinecone. This is more like your cloud storage. Think Dropbox. It's managed for you, it's super convenient, and honestly, it scales really, really well for a ton of startups and mid-sized companies. You don't have to sweat the infrastructure. And then you've got Milvus. This is the big one. This is like owning your own enterprise data center. We're talking massive, massive scale, complete control. You can run it wherever you want, and it's built for the most important critical workloads you can possibly imagine. So how in the world does Milvus actually pull this off? Let's pop the hood for a second and see what gives it the horsepower to handle all these enterprise demands. It really comes down to four key pillars. First, it uses something called collections to just handle billions and billions of vectors. Second, you get a choice of indexing algorithms, so you can fine-tune that balance between raw speed and pinpoint accuracy. Third, and this one is the secret sauce, is its distributed architecture that splits up storage and compute. And finally, all those enterprise goodies like access control and backups are baked right in. That whole separation of storage and compute thing, it enables this incredibly powerful idea called horizontal scaling. And it's actually pretty simple. When you need more juice, you don't go buy one giant, super expensive server. Nope. You just add more cheap, standard servers to the group, and Milvus just automatically spreads the work out. It's brilliant. And that leads directly to high availability. Because all that work is spread out, Milvus can keep multiple copies of your data. So if one server decides to take a coffee break and fails, another one just steps in instantly. No drama, no downtime. For a big company where every second of downtime costs a fortune, this isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a must-have. Okay, this all sounds great on paper, but who's really using it? In the real world, for stuff that actually matters. Let's take a look at some of the names that put their trust in Milvus. I mean, come on, this list says it all, right? Walmart is using this to power product recommendations in 10,000 stores. NVIDIA uses it for their own gigantic AI work, and eBay depends on it for their search. This is about as real as it gets. And these companies point to the exact kinds of monster problems Milvus is built to solve. We're talking about searching product catalogs with billions of items, recommending movies from a library the size of a planet, or powering a search that can scan every single document in a huge company. These are all billion vector problems. So with all this power comes, a little bit of complexity. The real question is, do you actually need an entire data center? Or is a simple hard drive going to be just fine for what you're doing? The choice really breaks down like this. If you need to handle billions of vectors, if you absolutely cannot have downtime, or if you have to deploy on your own servers, then yeah, Milvus is your guy. But if you're just getting your feet wet, you're working on a small project, or you don't have a team to manage a cluster, it's probably overkill. And that's okay. And when you put it side by side with the competition, the trade-offs get crystal clear. Look, Milvus, Qtorrent, and Pinecone can all handle that billion-vector scale, but Milvus really shines with its deep enterprise features and that ability to self-host. The price you pay for all that power? It's just more complex than a fully managed service like Pinecone or a simple library like Chroma. Okay, let's bring it all home and land on the final verdict. What's the one thing you absolutely need to remember about Milvus? So here it is, the bottom line. Milvus is the go-to open-source, enterprise-grade choice when you have a billion-vector problem and failure is simply not an option. It is fundamentally engineered for rock-solid reliability and flexibility at an insane scale. And that right there is why some of the biggest companies in the world bet on it. And that brings us to the final question, and this one's for you to think about. As you go off and build your next amazing AI application, just ask yourself this. Are you building it for a weekend project? Or is it truly built to handle enterprise reality? Thanks for tuning in.